إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه ومن سار على سبيله إلى يوم الدين أما بعد. We're on the chapter of Alad al-Khisam now, شدة الجدال. السلام عليكم بارك الله فيك. What does yours translate as? Prolonged disputes. No. It says وقول الله تعالى وهو ألد الخصام. That's from the ayat. ومن الناس من يعجبك قوله في الحياة الدنيا ويشهد الله على ما في قلبه وهو ألد الخصام. It mentions من آفات الكلام شدة الجدل وهذا من كبائر الذنوب ولذلك أورد المؤلف هذا الباب في كتاب الكبائر فشدة الجدل من كبائر الذنوب لما يترتب عليها من آثار سيئة. So it mentions the reason why he's mentioned it in this chapter because from the elements of speech is a type of debate that is dispraiseworthy. And that is due to what comes with it of evil, which we'll come to understand in the explanation. As for the أصل الجدل إذا كان بيان الحق أو رد باطل أو كشف الشبهة فهو مطلوب. If it's to do with clarifying what is the truth or refuting that which is incorrect, what falsehood, or to correct something doubtful, then this is something praiseworthy. This is when debate is praiseworthy. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions, وَجَادِلْهُمْ بِالَّتِي هِيَ أَحْسَنُ فالجدال إذا كان بالتي هي أحسن فهو مطلوب لما يترتب عليه من بيان الحق ورد الشبهات. So if the purpose of debate is to clarify the truth and reject any doubtful matters, then you argue them in the best way. بالتي هي أحسن. Then that is something that is desired, something that is praiseworthy. ثم إذا تجاوز هذا إلى الشدة فهذا يدل على الهوى وأن صاحبه لا يريد الحق ولذلك يشتد جدله لأجل رد الحق ولأجل أن يغلب ولو بالباطل والإنسان لا يتشدد في الجدال لأجل أن يغلب على خصمه ما يتشدد في الجدال هذا يذمه الله. So it basically mentions, however, if this exceeds the boundaries where a person goes into lengthy debates, then this is evident of desires. And that the person doesn't want the truth, they only want to be the one who is victorious in debate. So if the one who seeks to debate for them to be victorious, then this is not with the correct intention, and this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has dispraised. This is what has been dispraised by Allah Azza wa Jal. That a person prolongs debate not to establish the truth, however, but to be victorious, to be the one who is that champions the other. And ألد الخصام بمعنى يعني الذم يعني أشد ذما. It's the most dispraiseworthy type of debating. And this is taken from where Allah says قوما لُدَّ in Surah Maryam and قوم مذمومون بمعنى مذموم لُدًّا بمعنى مذمومون, that there are people that are dispraised. So of the reasons why they say شدة الجدل من كبائر الذنوب, this type of debating is from the major sins, لأنها تدل على التكبر وعدم إرادة الحق والانتصار للباطل. Now, what this means is that because it shows that a person is arrogant and has pride, and they do not want to establish the truth, rather they just want to be victorious, even if it's for falsehood. وهو ألد الخصام يعني أي شديد اللدد، ولدد هو الخصومة، يعني ألد الخصوم يعني ألد الخصام uh, those who go into prolonged debates, who just love debating and fighting people. This is the type of people that are dispraised. Because as Allah mentions regarding those ayat, where He says, وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يُعْجِبُكَ قَوْلُهُ فِي الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا وَيُشْهِدُ اللَّهَ عَلَى مَا فِي قَلْبِهِ وَهُوَ أَلَدُ الْخِصَامِ. That these people, there are some people that their speech will amaze you in this worldly life, and they bear witness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala upon that which is within their heart, despite them being the most severe in or prolonged in debating and fighting in this manner. What does Allah mention about them? وَإِذَا تَوَلَّى سَعَى فِي الْأَرْضِ لِيُفْسِدَ فِيهَا. When they turn away, they traverse in order to spoil the land, to cause corruption with the earth, وَيُهْلِكَ الْحَرْثَ وَالنَّسْلَ, and to spoil the crops and nasl, and lineage. وَاللَّهُ لَا يُحِبُّ الْفَسَادَ. Allah does not love al-fasad. وإذا قيل له اتق الله أخذته العزة بالإثم فحسبه جهنم ولبئس المهاد. When they're reminded to fear Allah Azza wa Jal, they take pride in their sin. They become proud and arrogant at their time of being advised to fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. فحسبه جهنم, for sufficient for them is Jahannam, and such wretched is a dwelling place. So, from those characteristics of these people, that a person goes in extravagance in debating, not for the sake of establishing the truth, but for their own desires, then this is something dispraiseworthy and from the major sins. And this is not why we was given proof to go in extreme in debate. Rather, as Allah mentions in another surah, لِتُبَشِّرَ بِهِ الْمُتَّقِينَ وَتُنذِرَ بِهِ قَوْمًا لُدًّا, is that you are to give glad tidings with it, i.e. with the message, the Quran, the Sunnah, the people of taqwa, and to warn those people who are dispraised, those madhmumun, those dispraised of the people. Then the author mentions, and Aisha anha marfu'an, inna abghada al-rijali ila Allahi al-aladdu al-khasam. And this hadith is in Bukhari or Muslim. It mentions the one who is most, the one who angers Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala the most out of mankind, or the most angered of mankind to Allah Azza wa Jal, are the one who are extravagant in debate, that go overboard in debating. Now, within this hadith, it mentions أبغض الرجال إلى الله. فهذا يدل على أن الله تعالى يحب ويبغض ويكره، ويحب المتقين والمحسنين ويبغض الكافرين والمنافقين والفساق. نعم. Now, this affirms that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves and He hates and He dislikes. He loves the people of taqwa and the people of goodness, and Allah hates the people of disbelief and hypocrisy and the evildoers. فَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يُبْغِضُهُ اللَّهُ تَعَالَى بُغْضًا خَالِصًا. You have from mankind those whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala dislikes in totality, hates them in totality, and that is the disbeliever and the munafiq, the hypocrite. And then you have those whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hates them for something of evil and loves them for something of goodness. And that is the believer that has sin, the one who is sinful. Now when it says إن أبغض الرجال هذا ليس خاصا بالرجال بل والنساء كذلك ولكن ذكر الرجال من باب التغليب. So Shaykh Hafidhullah, he mentions this is not specific to men, rather the men have been mentioned because they are the ones who are most likely to fall into this. They're the ones who are most likely to fall into this. وهو ألد الخصم, and he mentions الذي عنده لدد في الخصومة يعني كثير الخصومة, the one that is abundant or extravagant in debating, يخاصم بالباطل, and they're always debating even with falsehood. Now, that is of the worst kind of characteristics that you find a person. They like to argue just for the sake of argument, and cause division among people. Even from the Muslims that you find, there are those who will debate upon batil, وهم يعني أشداء في هذا الباب, and they go in great extravagance, they go overboard in this. والغرض والهدف منهم ليس يعني انتصار الحق أو القيام الحجة، بل الهدف منهم انتصار لنفسه فقط. And you find the likes of these people, the objective is not that they want to establish the truth or make the truth victorious. Rather, they want to be victorious themselves. It's for their own personal interest, not anything to do with establishing the truth. And it's very important for a person to be cautious into entering into debates. And one should only debate if there's a need. Only debate if there's a need. If there's no need, then leave it off. Even in da'wah, you have some people, they want the truth, and you have some people, they don't want the truth. They just want to debate and argue for their own benefit, to be victorious. This is also something that in some cases is dispraiseworthy. One should not entertain these kinds of debates. And sometimes it's like, okay, if you are going to debate these people, don't make it live. Don't broadcast it, because sometimes there's doubts that you're going to be exposing to the general people that they're not in need of hearing these things. So in those cases, it's best that those kind of debates are done privately, that a person wants the truth. If they want the truth, if they're willing to accept the truth, if it's proven to them, then khalas. But as for a person just debating, everyone's got their own side, and whoever is victorious, whoever wins, whoever moves the crowd, then this is not something to be done. This is not praiseworthy. Then the last hadith that he mentions in this bab, it says للترمذي عن ابن عباس رضي الله عنهما مرفوعا كفى بك إثما ألا تزال مخاصما. And this hadith mentions, yani it's sufficient for you to be sinful or to be in sin, that you continue to be in every time someone who is an opponent, someone who's debating, someone who's arguing. So حياتك كلها جدال وخصام. Yani your whole life is fighting and arguing. Some people, they live for this. So the one who lives for this, and this is sufficient as enough of a sin. So it says, mention الإنسان يعني ما يخاصم إلا عند الحاجة ويكون خصامه للحق. A person should only debate when there's a need, and the objective is to make the truth established, to establish the truth. يعني ما يكون خصامه لأجل نصرة الباطل. Nor should it be that a person the objective of debating is to aid falsehood. فكون الإنسان يخاصم إذا احتاج إلى ذلك، لكن كل وقته الخصام والجدال ويترك العمل وهمه الاعتراضات والتماس الشبهات، فهذا مأثوم إثما عظيما. Rather, if you find that a person, they're always debating, they're always arguing, they're always looking at looking for contradictions, or that's what they spend all their life in doing so. So what happens? They leave off any actions. They don't do any righteous actions. Then this is a great sin. They're always looking at doubtful matters and trying to go into depths in doubtful matters. Then this is something that is very sinful. As you find, there are some people, their objective is, and I was talking to someone about this yesterday, subhanAllah. You have some people, they research matters that if you ask them, does the results of this have any impact on your actions or your iman? Is it going to make your iman higher or lower? What does it benefit you? Nothing. There's absolutely no benefit. For example, was this prophet this skin color or not? Was this prophet this skin color or not? Okay, at the end of the day, what's it going to do for you? If we said, for argument's sake, okay, we agree with you, but then no, the evidence is there. Go to the book Shama'il al-Muhammadiyya, and the hadith that speak about the traits and appearance of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his traits of manners and also his physical traits, then you'll see the answer is there based on hadith, not based on desires. So when a person starts to now try to prove these things, or they start to debate in these things, then this becomes dispraiseworthy. And it also becomes a means to aid the people of falsehood. As Islam did not teach us to give importance to skin color or race, it taught us to give importance to at-taqwa, to be of those who fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah did not differ between us based on our different ethnic backgrounds. Rather, Allah made it a means of understanding the greatness of Allah's creation, that He created us from different backgrounds and origins so that we can learn from each other as from the signs of Allah's creation, not as a means of enmity and dhulm and oppression. So when we find people spending their time trying to go into details in these matters, then as a result of this, they fall into greater evils. And you find some people, they make that their daily life. يعني كل وقت يعني في البحث عن الاعتراضات والشبهات, looking for contradictions and doubtful matters. But again, as we mentioned, this will lead a person to going astray and falling into that which is worse. No. So the worst type of debating is that a person is trying to يعني ينصر الباطل, in aiding falsehood, وعدم إرادة الحق وبيان الحق, not desiring to attain the truth and clarify the truth. So, as we mentioned before, the Muslim only debates if there's a need, when there's a need for it to be done. As this was the way of the Salaf. The Salaf didn't debate unless there was a need. You have the likes of Imam Shafi'i rahimahullah, when Ahlul Bid'ah would come to debate him, he would refuse to debate them. He would refuse to debate them. He wouldn't even allow them to say one word. But there was a need at the time of Imam Ahmad rahimahullah, when debating regarding those of the Mu'tazila and the likes. There may have been a need at that time. Why? Intisar al-haq, to establish and support the truth. Not for personal gain, not to be famous, not to be known. La, this is not the objective of debating. La. So as we mentioned, it's only to be done when there is a need. No. Then the next chapter that the author goes on to mention is regarding Bab man habahu nasu khawfan min lisanihi. The chapter of those who people are scared of him because of the fear of his tongue. And he mentions وَقَوْلِ اللَّهِ تَعَالَى وَيْلٌ لِكُلِّ هُمَزَةٍ لُمَزَةٍ. And this is woe to every backbiter and slanderer. But there's a difference between al-hams or lams. One is done by action and one is done by mouth. So, for example, um, if someone says something, you do this behind their back, raise your eyebrows like, and do all these head movements and stuff. هذا من الهمز. هذا من الهمز. Or doing stuff like this, or those kind of gestures and stuff where you're kind of backbiting the person by way of just gesture, then this is hams. As for bil yani al-lisan, and that's lams. That's of the things that is mentioned. But you have some people, mal asaf shadid, الناس يعني يتركونه ويبتعدوا كل البعد عنه. They leave them and stay far, far away from these people. Why? Because they fear the harms of their tongue. Like the tongue, as we mentioned, as previously the hadith, man salim al-muslim man salim al-muslimuna min lisanihi wa yadihi. The Muslims on who the Muslims say from their hand, their tongue and their hand. وكثير من الأذى يأتي من اللسان. And a lot of harms come from the tongue. Of the worst of the major sins, يعني القذف المحسنات. For example, slandering the chaste woman with fornication. This comes with the tongue. Backbiting and slandering from the tongue. Al-kadhib from the tongue, like lying, deceit by way of the tongue. So there are so many harms that come from a person's tongue. But you have harms that are directly related to people where it becomes a means for people to fear the dangers of a person's tongue. And that is when it comes to like backbiting and slandering. As one of the things that Allah SWT has made sacred of Islam is al-a'rad, the honor of mankind. And of the easiest ways for a person to violate a person's honor is by backbiting and slandering. Backbiting and slandering. Now, what's mentioned an example of this, likulli humaza, and he mentioned humaza is by way of what? The actions, the gestures. It says, إن الذين أجرموا كانوا من الذين آمنوا يضحكون وإذا مروا بهم يتغامزون. Now, al-ghams is bil-yad wa bil-lisan. Ghams, this type of gesture of mockery, is done by way of the hand and the tongue. So it says, for example, sticking a person's tongue out and these kind of gestures as a means of mockery. Istihza'an. Naam. Also, غمز العينين والإشارة بالعينين. As we mentioned before, when a person rolls their eyes when someone's talking and the likes, or raises their eyes to say as if this person is just talking nonsense. All of this is from al-ghams wal-hams. Now, وهذا تنقصا للإنسان. This is a means of belittling a person or seeing them as something that is irrelevant. All of this is haram. It is all haram. So al-hams, it comes with actions, al-lams, it comes with statements, by way of statements. Now, the reality of the harms of the tongue and the hand in this regard, this nullifies the objective of Islam.
الله أكبر الله أكبر
Allah.
الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
Now, so as you mentioned, the objective of Islam is to bring the Muslims together upon the truth. Now, there are many mannerisms or characteristics Allah has legislated that help a community function. And when these things are severed, that's what causes dysfunction within a community. Wal-adawa, wal-bughd, and also enmity and animosity. Now, what's mentioned is the hadith of the Prophet Muhammad. He says, مثل المسلمين في توادهم وتعاطفهم وتراحمهم كمثل الجسد إذا اشتكى منه عضو تداعى له سائر الجسد بالسهر والحمى. Now mentions the example of the Muslims in their love and their compassion and their mercy among themselves is the likeness of one body. If it complains, if one of the limbs complains, i.e. from pain, then the rest of the body responds with either sleeplessness or fever. So this is the reality. When we see the harms of evil characteristics within the Muslims, الشر ينتشر, and the evil of that, it spreads. ويفسد المجتمع, it also causes harm in the community. فالناس يبدأون أن يبتعدوا عن الحضور المساجد. For example, people, they stop coming to the masajid. They leave off the houses of Allah Azza wa Jal. خوفة الفتن من ألسن الناس. They stop coming because they fear of fitna, because of the tongues of people, because of the things that they say. And this is of the things that's very easy to fall into. Very easy to fall into, despite it being of a major sin. It's very, very easy for people to fall into the likes of this. Now, there are a number of evidences within the Quran and the Sunnah that warn against the person belittling by way of the tongue. Allah says, وَلَا تَلْمِزُوا أَنفُسَكُمْ, and you do not to belittle yourselves with your tongues, and you don't speak ill and use your tongues as a means to تنقص من حق الإنسان, that you make a person seem deficient or low because of the things that is said about them. Rather, the Muslim, كما قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم, كف عليك هذا, hold back this, and he pointed to his tongue. Persons to hold back their tongue. وكما قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم من كان يؤمن بالله واليوم الآخر فليقل خيرا أو ليصمت. Whoever believes in Allah and the last day, then let them speak good or remain silent. فإذا لم يكن للإنسان خيرا من كلامه فليسكت وهذا أحوط له وأتقى. A person, if they don't have anything good to say, then they should stay silent, and that is safer for them and more closer to a taqwa. But as you mentioned also, there are other hadith that speak about the way that the Muslim is to be with oneself. As the Prophet mentions, Al-Muslimu akhul Muslim. The Muslim is a brother to another Muslim. And he mentioned a number of things that they should stay away from. He said, in that hadith, in the beginning part, it says, لا تحاسدوا ولا تناجشوا ولا تباغضوا ولا تدابروا ولا يبيع بعضكم على بيع بعض وكونوا عباد الله إخوانا. المسلم أخو المسلم لا يظلمه ولا يخذله ولا يكذبه ولا يحقره. التقوى ها هنا يشير إلى قلبه أو إلى صدره 3 مرات. بحسب امرئ من الشر أن يحقر أخاه. المسلم كل المسلم على المسلم حرام دمه وماله وعرضه. Now in this hadith it mentions the Muslim, the Prophet said, do not envy one another, do not infiltrate prices upon one another. For example, someone wants to chanajashu, someone wants to buy, selling something, and I see someone wants to buy it. So I don't want to buy it, but I just say I'm going to make him pay more. I try to make them pay more, a higher price. This is a tanajus. This is haram as well. وَلَا تَبَاغَضُوا. Do not hate one another. وَلَا تَدَابَرُوا. Do not turn your backs on one another. وَلَا يَبِعْ بَعْدُكُمْ عَلَى بَيْعِ بَعْدٍ. Don't undercut each other in business. For example, if I know perfume, someone sells perfume, and the average price for 6 mils is £10. That's average. If I start coming and say I'm going to sell it for £6, I'm going to undercut the market. These things are not to be done. These things are not to be done. Also, he says, وَكُونُوا عِبَادَ اللَّهِ. Be servants of Allah Azza wa Jalla as brothers. Al-Muslim akhul Muslim. The Muslim is a brother to another Muslim. Doesn't oppress him, doesn't cheat him, doesn't deny him or lie to him, doesn't belittle him. Okay, of the things you don't give him away. La yuslimuhu. In another narration, you don't deliver them to the enemy. La. And he says, At-taqwa ha huna. He said the piety is here, and he pointed to his chest 3 times. He mentioned sufficient from evil is that a person belittles their Muslim brother. Belittles their Muslim brother. He mentioned the whole Muslim upon another Muslim is haram, i.e. sacred. And that is their wealth, their blood, their wealth, and their honor. All of these things can be violated by way of the tongue and the hand. By way of the tongue and the hand. The tongue can be a cause of a person's honor being violated, which leads to the wealth and the blood being violated. And the hand can violate all 3 as well. So these are the things that a person is to stay away from. Also of the major sins that the Prophet ﷺ has warned us against. يعني يكذبه نعم. And you mentioned أن عائشة رضي عنها أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال إن شر الناس من تركه الناس أو ودعه الناس اتقاء فحشه. Now, what does this mean, this hadith? This is in Bukhari and Muslim. That the Prophet ﷺ mentioned the most evil of mankind is the one who mankind leave him or stay away from him. Why? Because of the evil of his tongue, out of fear of his tongue, out of fear of the evil that comes from his tongue. So, what's mentioned here, sharrun nas, they're the worst type of people. And it's because the people stay away from them out of fear of their evil. that there will be impact of the evil of that people. These are the worst types of people. Now, the issue that we have here of why this is so bad, being evil is sufficient as an evil in and of itself. Being someone of evil, of sin, that people have to stay away from you. This is an evil thing in and of itself. The fact people have to stay away from you now to protect themselves from your evil is also even more of an evil, is a greater evil. Because you have some evil that people fall into, some sin, that only affects them. But when your sin transgresses to other people now, and people are also seeking to stay away from you to protect themselves from your evil, this is even a greater evil. This becomes an even greater evil. يعني أشد يعني نعم أشد شرا نعم
إشعاعات الله كلها شر.
نعم. وهذا لا يقتصر على اللسان، قد يكون من فعله كذلك. يعني it's not restricted to a person's tongue, it's also from their actions. From their actions. And مع الأسف, of the things that is يعني unfortunately in our day and age now, you find people see this as being something that is manly, for people to be scared of you, to keep their distance away from you. This is not something praiseworthy, because the sharpness of your tongue, or that you may cause harm physically, this is not something to be proud of, that people keep their distance from you because of this. This is not something praiseworthy. Rather, we know from the hadith of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, "Man tawadha'a lillahi darajatan rafa'ahu Allahu daraja, hatta yaj'alahu fi illiyin, wa man takabbara 'ala Allahi daraja, wada'ahu Allahu darajatan, hatta yaj'alahu fi asfal as-safilin." Mentions whoever is humble before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for Allah azza wa jal, a level, Allah will raise them in level until they reach al-illiyin, the highest lofty places of al-Jannah. And the one who has pride and arrogance before Allah azza wa jal, then Allah will lower them and put them down until they're at the lowest pits of the hellfire. So all of this can be related to at-takabbur, any pride and arrogance. That is all madhmoom. All of this is something that is dispraised, that a person is to stay away from. Rather, as we know, al-mu'min ya'laf. كما قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم, al-mu'min ya'laf. The mu'min is one people they want to be around. The people enjoy their company. وَلَا خَيْرَ فِي مَنْ لَا يَأْلَفْ وَلَا يُؤْلَفْ. And there's no goodness in the one who people do not enjoy their company, nor they're able to be in other people's company. Why? Because of their evil characteristics. So these are the things that a person is to avoid and stay away from. And again, all of these harms, Nam, and as someone quoted now, the poem that we mentioned previously, when it mentions احفظ لسانك أيها الإنسان, safeguard your tongue, or mankind لا يلدغنك إنه ثعبان. Don't let it bite you because it's a snake. How many people are in the graves from the murder of their tongue? Even the brave used to fear encountering the tongue. So this is how the poet described the tongue. The amount of harms that have occurred from the tongue. People have died because of the evil from their tongue and the likes. So a person is to fear Allah Azza wa Jal, and if they have nothing good to say, then don't say anything at all. And to fear that they fall into affecting or violating the honor of mankind, حتى يفتحه الله تعالى. أي ونحن نسأل الله السلام والعافية والتوفيق لما يحبه ويرضاه، اللهم آمين. ونكتفي بهذا اليوم إن شاء الله، ونستمر في الدرس القادم. جزاكم الله خيرا. اللهم صل وسلم على نبينا وحبيبنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. سبحانك وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.